Welcome to the exclusive interview of AgriNext Awards and Conference. Today, we are joined by Dr. Tom Adams, co-founder and CEO of Pairwise, a leader in using CRISPR technology to transform agriculture with 25 plus years in biotech, including as a VP at Monsanto. Dr. Adams now leads Pairwise in developing resilient, high-yield crops through the full crop platform, blending crisp AI and deep science to benefit both farmer and the planet. How are you, Dr. Tom?
I'm doing great. Good morning. Good evening, I guess, for you.
So could you please tell our audience a bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Yeah, I've been working in agriculture and science associated with agriculture basically my whole career. So for many years now, I started off in an academic position at Texas A&M, and when I was sort of early in my career, I got an opportunity to go do a sabbatical at one of the early genomics pharmaceutical companies called Millennium Pharmaceuticals, which had this idea that what was being developed for pharmaceuticals could be applicable in agriculture, which I think was a pretty good idea, and ended up developing a company called Sirion Genomics that became part of Monsanto. So that was how I ended up in Monsanto. So it was sort of an entrepreneurial step into a bigger company that really gave an opportunity to kind of understand how agriculture at scale works differently than, from my academic and small startup company background. So it was a great opportunity to see that. From there, I had many different opportunities at Monsanto. It was probably from the inside was a very innovative company that did lots of things to really try to create opportunities for growers around the world, and got to experience a lot. The last role I had, I think, as you mentioned in the introduction, I was the vice president for biotechnology, so developing all the technologies and traits that Monsanto was really well known for. And when CRISPR became a real thing that really created a new opportunity to think about agriculture differently, I took the opportunity to set up Pairwise as a way to, part of what I wanted to do was to create a company that could broaden the impact from just the big acre crops, but also to move into the fruits and vegetables. So it's been a really exciting journey.
Sure. Okay, so let's start with our first question. Dr. Adam, you have an incredible journey from academia to leading a cutting-edge agri-biotech company. Could you start by telling us how this journey unfolded?
Yeah, I think I gave you a little bit of that there in my introduction. So I think it's been just, I would say, it's always interesting to see how science develops. And I think, when I happened to be starting my career was just when people started to be able to transform plants and do some of the things that have been accomplished. And, it's great to be at this stage in my career where we have these tools that have been developed that enable us to do very precise manipulations of the genome in ways that really are no different than nature does. So we can do things that don't fall under this category of GMO and create great solutions for growers.
Definitely. So with more than 11 million plants transforming under your belt, what has been the most exciting and unexpected outcome so far?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say this is unexpected, but I'd say it's exciting to me is that, we talk about the number of experiments we've done as just a sort of the breadth of things that we've attempted. But what's been really exciting is how frequently we've been able to accomplish what it is that we set out to accomplish. And I think we say that we have created the phenotypes we're looking for. I think it's around 75% of the time, 72 maybe. But really it's 100% of the time. It's when we're talking about the times we missed, it's just that particular gene wasn't the right one, but we've been able to figure out the right way to get to it. So we've been able to put, we've got partnerships with some of the big ag companies. We started with one with Bayer, and we've created 27 different exciting different traits that are in their pipelines to develop. So it takes time for them to get to market, but I think a fairly large number there. And then across 14 different crops that we've worked in, we've actually created I think the number is around 80, 81 different sort of product concepts that we've been able to create that are, in various pipelines around to try to advance to the market. So I think it's been very exciting to see how powerful the technology is in a way that's not creating surprising results, but actually the results we're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. So you emphasize a non-GMO approach for global markets. How does that open new opportunities for farmers and the consumers?
Yeah, so this is the beauty of how CRISPR works, is it really, people will also often refer to it as a new breeding technology, and it really is more of a tandem approach with breeding than what traditional GMOs are, where we're using what are called transgenes, of taking a gene from a different species, like a bacteria that can
Yeah,
kill insects, and putting that in corn and making the corn insect resistant. With CRISPR, you're actually working with the genes in the genome of the plant, and that allows us to make changes within a gene that actually occur in other varieties of that same plant or other plants. So it's not really something new to the food system. It's already existing. What we're doing is bringing together the different versions of genes more efficiently than you can do with breeding, because breeding is a random process. Most plants have around 30,000 genes. You throw 30,000 genes together and they randomly assort and you get what you get. So you have to look at lots and lots of progeny to see which ones perform the way you want. And with CRISPR, we're able to take that parent that you want to make just a single change to, but you like everything else about it, and you've got another parent that has a mutation in a gene that if you could move that in, it would be perfect. Like you want to make a red apple yellow for
yeah,
some reason. Well, you can know what the gene is, what the mutation is that would cause red to go to yellow, and then have all the other characteristics stay the same. And that's just a much faster process. And if you think about disease tolerance and the types of things that growers really need, that often is present in a population, in a genetic pool, but to get them all into the same plant can
yeah.
be really time consuming. So we can speed that up. And I think that's, with all the challenges we have across the globe in terms of creating enough food for everybody, using CRISPR to make plants easier to grow and easier to eat is a good path.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving down to the next question. Agriculture biotech is often entangled with strict regulation and public perceptions. So, how do you navigate these challenges while pushing innovation?
Yeah, I'd say there's a few learnings from the past, and things that how we've tried to approach sort of what you're really asking about is public acceptance. And
Yeah,
when there's the GMO story, which as you mentioned, you're usually bringing in transgenes, and I think it's appropriate to think you want to make sure that now this bacterial gene that we're now going to eat a lot of isn't going to cause any effects to humans. So there are studies that are required to follow that, and that's appropriate. Again, when you're doing gene editing, it's typically something that's really within the scope of what conventional breeding would produce as well. So we generally try to tell that story. But I think what's even more important is to ensure that the traits that we're working on are things that give consumers and the average person a reason to feel like this is giving them something positive, not just creating risk for them because they don't know what it is. So, we started off on the fruits and vegetables, really looking at things that had driven consumption of different fruits and vegetables. And really, I'd say the number one thing that we focused on, although we've got a couple of other areas, has been getting rid of seeds and pits in different things. Because you look at something like a seedless grape, and it's driven great grape consumption. It just makes it easier to eat grapes. So we have created blackberries now that don't have any seeds in them. They're a couple of years away from the market, but they're really interesting to have a blackberry and not have that crunchy seed in it. It's a
yeah,
very different experience for a consumer. So I think you give a consumer choice, be transparent about using technology, and I think in the long run that's going to be a winning strategy to enable acceptance. At the same time, different countries do have different regulatory rules and regimes.
yeah,
Mostly the globe is moving towards viewing certain types of gene editing outcomes as being equivalent to breeding. So as long as you as long as we're able to show that we don't have any transgenes in a plant, then it fits under that category. So I think over time that regulatory system is going to become simpler as we get more and more products that give the consumer something that they benefit from.
Definitely. So you have led both global team at Monsanto and now a mission-driven startup. So how does leadership change when moving from a giant corporation to a nimble innovator?
Yeah, I don't know that leadership changes a lot. I think, first, I think if you're, I mentioned a little bit about Monsanto in my introduction, and I think it was a very innovative company, and we were often starting up new efforts within that. So I think there was a lot of nimbleness,
Yeah,
maybe a little bit different, and the opportunity that I'd say we've had from, and kind of back to my introduction about why I thought starting Pairwise was a fun thing to do or an interesting thing to do, is we're not as restricted by the need to deliver on the crops that we make all of our money on. Because we're creating something new. So I think
yeah,
that's probably the biggest opportunity. It's fun to be able to go into a greenhouse instead of just seeing corn and soybean, to see cherry trees and blackberries and so on. So it gives us, a lot more opportunity to explore different areas. And then, because of that, to learn about different markets. So in general, those types of these so-called specialty crops have been, I'd say, underserved by technology because they don't have the big acres. They're very valuable per acre, but they don't have as many acres. So when it comes to selling products, people have sort of shied away from putting a lot of technology invested in it. I think that's something that we've had the opportunity with Pairwise that's been quite fun.
okay. So where do you see Pairwise is 2019? And what kind of agriculture innovation will be talking about then?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we kind of really defined our strategy as partnering across agriculture, and partnering really in two different ways. One is through collaborative research like we're doing with Bayer and Corteva, and we have a couple of other partners that will be announced in the near future where we're working more broadly than the corn and soy, but also on some of the fruit crops. And those are, I would say, sort of a core, and trying to use our, all of the capabilities of Pairwise to create new types of crops. But then we've developed this proprietary set of tools that allow people to do editing. So we've created a bit of a licensing business, and you may have seen just this last week we announced that we did a license to Mars, so the big chocolate company that's going to be using CRISPR to try to create more resilient cacao, since cacao is threatened by diseases and climate change, and I think we all want to keep our chocolate to eat with our blackberries. So we need to find ways to do that. So we're I think in 2029, if we continue on the path that we're heading for, we're going to have more collaborations, more products that are beginning to hit the market, and more licensing, to where really what we've enabled is across many different sectors in agriculture, from the big acre commodity crops to the fruits and vegetables to materials. So excited to see that develop, and I think Pairwise can be a big part of that. But coming back that we see ourselves as partners, not doing it all by ourselves, but to do it with the big players in the field.
Okay, so let's start the most exciting part of this interview, rapid fire round. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll ask the question and you have to answer in one word. So my first question to you is CRISPR in one word.
Transformative.
Great. So most underrated fruit or vegetable according to you?
Okay, that's a fun one. I don't know. I'll say beets.
Beets. Okay. So one crop you would like to transform next?
Mangoes.
Mangoes. Okay.
I want
So
a pitless mango.
yeah, if you were not a scientist, you would be?
Yeah, I that's a hard question. I think probably I would be a lawyer. I don't like the idea of being a lawyer, but I like the games that I like the logic structure around law. So I think that's probably what I would be.
Okay. So, one advice that you have received.
One advice that I've received,
Yeah,
keep moving forward.
great. So, this is it. Dr. Adams, thank you for sharing your journey, insights, and vision with us today. It's inspiring to see how science, innovation, and purpose can come together to create real impact, not just for farmers, but for global food systems and the environment. We look forward to seeing Pairwise continuing to shape the future of agriculture, one breakthrough out at a time. Thank you
Great.
so much for joining this interview.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.